bumped along for days to get to her grammar school. So see that in itself, probably that experience was something that gave her something, a reality of what's really important in life. And
for those that, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say, when we have people listening that are interested in Baja, and there's probably, you and I, Jim, are very familiar with what Bruce is talking about here, but Mama Espinosa's is today a restaurant and a little lodge, if you will, right as you come into the town of El Rosario. And now, if you're one of those that does adventure down and drive into Baja and gets down to El Rosario, pulling into Mama Espinosa's, you've got a little backstory on her life and her friendship with Bruce.
And you know her daughter looks just like her. What's her name? Fry or something crazy. She always says, "Oh, Bruce Meyers is in the place and we have people," and she always pops out and I stand up with her and I say, "I love you." I do. I love, she represents something. Her mother was just exactly, they look exactly, they sound like a twin, See, all that is a sweetness that I don't want to ever leave.
It's still there, Bruce. There's the trailers with 2 bathrooms, but there's also those of us that live it, eat it, and sleep it, and breathe it as well.
Well, the good news is those 2-bathroom trailers come down for a week, and then they're gone the rest of the year. And then there's real people like us. and it's why we're doing this show, because, Bruce, what you're talking about is the exact specialness of Baja that we want people to understand exists. Even today, they can go down there, and like you said, they can say hi to the daughter, and they can continue on their adventure and meet a lot of people just like that. And in 20 years from now, they'll have these same type of stories, because Baja's like that. It delivers every time.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a very interesting life before all of this. You guys are all about the Baja part of it, and it's not important today to talk about, but there's other things that I lived with in my life that brought me around to caring more about love and people than some of these 2-bathroom affairs that we're talking about. Mm-hmm. I sailed as a sailor for several years. I was in the Navy, and then I was in the Merchant Marine. I was in the Merchant Marine first, then I was drafted in the Navy, then I went back to the Merchant Marine. But I've characters, lovable characters. Olaf and I sailed to the Orient. We were together for 6 months. I slept in the bunk up there, and he slept in this one. He's the oldest man on the ship. He was born in Sweden. When father died, he was the last of 11 children, and mother had to take the fishing smack out every morning. And Olaf was 3, and he was taught to steer. The rest of other half of the family pulled the nets and got the fish, and from which they made their living. Olaf wanted to go to sea when he was 6 or 7. He says, "Jesus, Whitey." I was known as Whitey because everybody in the Merchant Marine has a nickname. And I was 22 years old or something. And he says, "Jesus, Whitey." He says, "The harbors were black with spars." Now that's at the change from sailing ships to steam. And so the sailing ships were all bundled up in their booths. And he says, "I wanted to go to sea on the sailing ship." And so I went to talk to the captain. I said, "I want to be a cabin boy." And the captain says, "How old are you?" He says, "I'm 7, sir." "Go back to your mother." Mother says, "No, it's okay. Take him." So he went to sea when he was 7.
Wow.
We sailed together for 6 months, and he was so full of stories and love. The captain had sailed with him many times. Whenever anything broke because the gear wasn't heavy enough, Ole knew how to Frisco rig it and make it strong and all these things. He was a wonderful guy. See, he was a character that gave me this sense of love of the real thing, I guess. There was so many people like that. Like the first girl in Tahiti, I lived in Tahiti once for several months. I built a trading post on a coral atoll. And then I went and lived in Tahiti. And I see this gorgeous girl with some other people walking towards me. She sees me staring at her. And she walks right up to me and says, "You like my TTs? They're bulldozers, huh?" This is the way a Tahitian deals with you. "You like my TTs?" And we were friends after that. See, I can't forget Oli, and I can't forget Mia was her name. I can't forget Mama Espinosa. See, those are high points in life. And my life is so full of that stuff. I can't help but not really give a crap about products that have a lot of profit. I mean, good for you. When you read my book, you're going to see this horrible situation. I invented the Dune Buggy, and I got a patent. And the patent was overruled in a courtroom by a judge that knew nothing about these things. And the other lawyer was a really nice guy, but he made me look like a thief. And so I lost my patent. And I was making 25 kits a day. I had 400 or 500 kits a month going out of my factory, 70 people. And then the courtroom said no and took my patent away. So here, open the doors. It all came out in the press. And here comes everybody around the world. I mean, not just here, but across both oceans, Japan, South America, Europe. Oh, let me tell you about Europe.
Please.
25 years or so, 24 years after the loss of the patent, I was embittered, angry, and we were invited to Europe to come to the 25th anniversary of the Dune Buggy on the shores of Europe. And so we were taken over there on an airplane, and Winnie and I are at the Le Mans racetrack. He rents the Le Mans racetrack. He has 7,000 or 8,000 Volkswagen freaks, and there was probably 200, maybe 300 plastic Dune Buggies, copies of the Manx. And Jackie Morrell, the host, he's a publisher of a magazine called Super VW over there in Europe. He says, Bruce, he says, I want you to get into this Meyers Manx that I bought just for you. I bought it in Europe, or I bought it in Florida. And he says, I brought it over here, and I want you to lead the parade of all these 1,100 Volkswagens and all those Dune Buggies around the track. And I'm going to use a bad word. I said,
please, tell us.
I'm not leading those fuckers anywhere. They put me out of business. They ruined my life. No. He says, you're thinking wrong. You're not thinking right. He said, you're still angry at the people that put you out of business? Yes. He says, probably half of them are dead. It's been 24 years. Okay. And the other half, probably they raised their children on the idea of your Dune Buggy. I said, what kind of kids are they going to have? They don't have any qualms about cheating. He says, forget all that. He says, you cannot be angry that long. 24 years out of your life? You're hurting yourself. He says, and anything that happened yesterday is done. It's dead. It's gone. Goodbye. You can't do anything about it. And what are you trying to do? Be angry at something you can't do anything about? That's crazy. He says, but every Dune Buggy has two smiling faces in them. You put them there. They're yours. He had me dead to rights. He says, all those smiling faces, you're the guy. He says, stop thinking about the anger. He says, you will shorten your own life. Think of only the two smiling faces. And he said, I want you to go home and do three things. Start a club, write a book, build a new Manx of the 90, and that's the Manxster, it's a four-place. I did all that stuff. The book is being written. He had me so straight away realizing that I was wrong. You can't be angry at something that's gone. And the children of those cars knew nothing of the cheating of the courtroom, of all these bad thoughts. They're just happy. And the reason is because the car made them that way. It's yours. I carried that around with me, and I had to pretend. He says, you're going to have to pretend, but you're a good actor. Pretend to be happy. I know you're not happy. I want you to lead the parade, and I led the parade. of 1,100 cars and the 200 or 300 Dune Buggies. And he said, forget anger. You're only hurting yourself. Nobody else gives a shit. So I had to do that. He was so right. And he says, you're going to have to pretend. But be an actor. Go home and pretend and smile. And so I went home and I opened the club to all the copiers. Now, the club is the biggest in the world. It's got 5,000 or more members. And wherever we go, there's pictures of a couple of hundred Dune Buggies all on the beach or something. Everybody's happy and smiling. And see, that's the reward, is the result of the design, which is all artistic, that made the people happy. And it's all mine. And he says, you shouldn't be angry. You're living a wonderful life. Jackie Morrell changed my life. I came home and I started that club, and the club is monstrous. It's the one I take to Baja. We take lots of people down there and introduce them, and now they're all cuckoo about off-road racing. They're gathering up, making teams, and bringing cars across the country and racing and all that shit. See, so I feel like I've been treated to somebody that was very intelligent. That was Jackie Morrell, and he turned my life around. I don't know how many people that you've ever met that had such a horrific, horrible life of bitterness over the fact that I designed something that made people happy, and then it was stolen by everybody. And the way they did it is so underhanded and so meaningless. Sensitivity to them is nothing, and all of the things that I am a part of is something I've had to live with. And when Jackie turned me around and I opened the club to all of my enemies, and now it's wonderful. And I don't call them gatherings of Dune Buggies anymore. I call them love affairs. Mm-hmm. And I make an announcement. Here I am. I hug everybody. I do. And we have rows upon rows of them, hundreds of them. You know, some of these club gatherings, there's one in Big Bear that we had 300 and some odd, and another 100 party pushers. Yeah. See, so the whole thing is so hugely happy and successful that I have nothing else to say except I'm a lucky guy, I guess.
You know, we probably could sit here all day. I think that that's a wonderful lesson in life that, you know, not only you got rid of this bitterness, but you took the opportunity to listen to a friend and his advice for you, and you changed your life, and to look at it the way that you did is pretty spectacular, because a lot of us have been down the bad business deal road, and we could choose to be better, but you're proof that life can be so wonderful. Bruce, I like to wrap it on that thought, because I just think it's such an important point of your life, and you've been so kind to share some incredible memories. I'll speak for Ryan, and he doesn't even have to say it. I know we'd like to come back one day, maybe as you get that book completed and have another story from you. You know,
you're welcome.
I think we're better people for hearing your story, and I think we're better people for learning about Baja through your early adventures. And I'd like to thank you for that, because Baja is a special place, and your story is a special one.
Well, and I'm going to say it one more time, Bruce. I thank you for unknowingly starting something that has affected every ounce of who I am today, and I appreciate that. I know that it's not the reason you did and do what you do. I think it's a testimony to the authenticity of your soul, that what you find the most joy out of today is spending time with the people that are in that club. And even the ones that are not driving authentic Meyers Manx, they are still special to you, and you recognize, I hope you recognize, you've made it clear that you've helped change people's lives. So I thank you for that, and thank you for the time today, for sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think you guys are very eloquent. You use words that I can't come up with. You're both very eloquent and touching my little grief and then my happiness, as I told you about, is and the way you've come up with an answer to it is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, our pleasure. Well, I'm going to push the stop button now, and we're going to go look at some art and show some appreciation and enjoy this wonderful hospitality here. So, thanks.
This episode of The Answer